Hello, I'm Rob Hislop. Thanks for joining us here on ICANN Media. This edition brings to a conclusion a three-part interview series that we've been holding with the principal and senior consultant of Communica Public Affairs, Doug Ford, a company based in Calgary. Now, Ford has worked with a lot of the major players in the oil industry. He's helped them navigate some of the bureaucratic red tape and also helped inform the public about some major projects. In the first two parts, we had the opportunity to learn about how things have changed for the oil industry. This, of course, when it comes to doing business. And Doug, you also gave us an idea of what can and should be done to help clean up the industry's image, which is certainly tarnished a bit.
The central question is, are things better today than they were 20, 30, 50 years ago? Unequivocally, without question, yes.
The big projects today, of course, include pipelines. We're talking Keystone XL, Northern Gateway as well. Certainly hard to get approval and the actual go-ahead for a number of these projects. You've done work with Enbridge and its, well, I guess some would say controversial Northern Gateway pipeline.
You know, I think in terms of pipeline infrastructure, the narrative of pipeline construction has been taken over by those that are opposed to fossil fuel development as a whole. So this perspective is that somehow pipelines are like garden hoses with this popping up all over the place. Reality is that 99.9% of all product that enters a pipeline comes out the other end. The time, care, and attention paid to pipeline integrity is fundamental. Why? Because of the economic driver, first and foremost. That product is not there for any other reason than to be transported. If we have a rupture or a leak, that's a bad thing. Getting that out into the public discourse is really important.
Doug, tell me, do you think it's important for the companies to be out there waging this PR battle, or would you prefer to see organizations like, say, the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers, CAP, leading the charge? So
many voices are required in this conversation. And I think it's really important that companies, be first and foremost in that discourse. If you allow others to define who you are, it's never a pleasant picture. And so you must define who you are. You must define what you're doing, what your values are, why you're different, why you're here. You must seize the narrative. CAP and COSIA, the most recently formed BC LNG Producers Alliance, those industry associations have a role to play in terms of general education, but it really flips to the third element, and that is the whole principle of energy literacy. How do we actually function as a society? When you turn on the lights, why does the light come on? When you go to your kitchen, why is it everything you find in your kitchen is actually probably come from a hole in the ground? Be it wood, be it minerals, be it petroleum products, be it a variety of different things. Having that discussion and that honest discussion about energy literacy, I think, is really important.
Well, Doug, when the critics of the oil sands come out, and of course you've got celebrities like Neil Young heading up to northern Alberta, looking at the production sites and then claiming that they look like war zones. Now, while I've never been to a war zone, I would think that a mining site looks a little bit different. So I'm asking you, Doug, when it comes to the descriptions that people use on this region of Alberta, do you think they're blowing things out of proportion a little bit?
So resource development, by its very definition, is a messy affair. It involves men and women rolling up their sleeves at 4 a.m. and starting a cat and doing activity. And that activity has impacts. And there cannot be any activity without impacts. And the ability to actually mitigate those impacts, to modify them, to adjust, to do environmental compliance, all those are central to what we refer to the broader social license. If we think about the oil sands, the open pit mines, the oil sands are, on face value, there's a lot of activity there. But I would argue that that activity is not dissimilar to a coal mine, not dissimilar to a copper mine, not dissimilar to a uranium mine. Mining in itself has impacts. The second element of the oil sands that no one really talks about is SAGD development. A lot of the newer development, in fact, is SAGD development, which has less impacts on the surface. don't be afraid to talk about that. And when we talk about the size, scale, and scope of the oil sands, yeah, it's a big operation. It's world class. But in the scale of Alberta, in the scale of northern Alberta, the oil sands are not this apocalyptic landscape that runs for hundreds of kilometers that some people might want to talk about. Get up there, walk the Athabasca River. I've walked it. Take a look at how the oil sands actually the river cuts through the actual oil sand deposits. Have some context before you criticize.
Tell me, just how do you see this ongoing PR battle unfolding over, say, the next couple of years?
I think we're at the forefront of the single greatest public policy discussion in our generation. And that is, how is Canada to support employment, social services, education, all the things that we cherish, healthcare as Canadians? How do we actually support that society? Reality, we support it primarily through resource development. That resource development provides tangible benefits in terms of not only employment, but taxes and royalties and infrastructure development. I think frankly, the next 2 years will be a determiner of whether we seize the opportunity, we continue to go forward in a confident manner, or if we're not able to realize those benefits, it's going to be a very dark day for Canada.
Doug, thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Thank you for your time.
We've been chatting with Doug Ford, who is in Calgary and is the principal and senior consultant with Communica Public Affairs. If you missed out on any one of the 3 episodes that we've aired with Doug Ford, by all means, check them out on our website, icanmedia.tv. That brings to a conclusion this podcast. I'm your host, Rob Hislop.